Just so you know, all of the opinions in this video are my own, and FilmConvert doesn't get to see this video before you do. You're special. There are many of us who shoot projects with multiple cameras of different brands. Each of these cameras have their individual color science, their own conversion LUTs, and it can all add up to be a very time-consuming thing. This is where FilmConvert's new beast, CINEMATCH, comes into play. Now the cool thing about CINEMATCH is it can definitely be used in tandem with FilmConvert Nitrate, which is how I use it and how I will continue to use it. But also, if you're not interested in grading with Nitrate, you can still use CINEMATCH and get really awesome results. You don't have to use both together, which is great. It gives you freedom. And that's cool because a lot of companies try to suck you into their ecosystem and make you use everything that they have. Whereas with FilmConvert, you can just use CINEMATCH and still use all your own LUTs, your own grading, however you want to do it. So what does CINEMATCH actually do? Well, in basic terms, it makes one camera look like other camera. So right now we're at my lovely girlfriend's house. We have this room where we're gonna set up our first scene for these FilmConvert CINEMATCH tests. So Kaden here, get a shot of this. Kaden here, my wonderful roommate, is gonna be the therapist of the scene. I'm gonna be the client in this chair, and Nova is just gonna be the dog, because she's really good at that. So we're gonna kinda do some set design. The windows are gonna be a little blown out, so we're gonna close the curtains and put up some lighting, make everything look good, do some rearranging. For cameras, we have the X-T4, which Lauren is shooting on right now. And we also have the Sony A7 III and the GH5S. All of our cameras have EF converters on them, so we're shooting with an EF Sigma 18-35. Which camera do you want, GH5 or Sony? Good girl. Yep, good girl. I'm familiar with the X-T4 and Fuji's F-Log profile in general. I've spent a ton of time with the camera. However, I'm not familiar with the Sony A7 III and its color science, and the same for the GH5S. I could do my best to color grade each camera's footage separately and try to get them to look consistent in post, or hear me out, I could CINEMATCH them. So the first thing I'm gonna show you guys is I'm gonna grade a clip with FilmConvert Nitrate, which is how I usually do things in my workflow. Then I'm gonna use CINEMATCH to, my neighbors are bouncing. And then I'm gonna use CINEMATCH to match that grade to the two other cameras we shot with. Here are the shots in their log profiles. So this is the Fuji X-T4 in F-Log. This is the Sony A7 III in S-Log 2, and here is the GH5S in V-Log L. So now we need to match the other two cameras to make it look similar to this X-T4 goodness. A simple way to do this is I just grab FilmConvert Nitrate, hold down Command, grab the Lumetri as well, copy, go over to Sony, paste that in there. So this is what the Fuji settings look like on the Sony. And you can see just like the skin tones look so much different. We're gonna grab our new friend here, CINEMATCH. Ooh. You know, I'm not exactly sure on what the correct method is, but I think CINEMATCH would be on top of our adjustments because essentially CINEMATCH is changing the color science of the camera to match the camera you're trying to match it to. Hopefully this makes sense. I might be wrong on that. If you know, correct me. So right here says our source camera settings. So obviously our source is the Sony A7 III. Now we have our target camera settings. This is what we're trying to get our camera to look like. So obviously we were trying to match it to the Fuji X-T4. Bam. Okay, don't be alarmed. I was slightly alarmed at this at the very beginning. Obviously we need to change our exposure. Luckily this exposure here, this slider is amazing. It almost feels like editing RAW. When you pull it down, like you get all your information back. Let's see if they look similar. Okay, these are already looking so much closer. The main things I'm looking at is skin tone and the whites. So it looks like the whites on the Sony are a little more blue looking. I mean, here's the before and after with the CINEMATCH on the Sony. Look at that, magenta nation into that creamy goodness. Now, after we do the original match, we start to do our minor adjustments to tweak things. But the great thing is we're not starting from scratch on this. We have such a solid foundation, and I would argue that this could already pass. Like, not many people would notice the difference in these two. If you don't want to mess with the HSL settings and doing all the dipping and diving and all that stuff, there are two beautiful little droppers that could save your life. We have source and target here. So our source is gonna be our Sony skin tone. bam. Obviously our target is the X-T4, skin tone, bam. I'm just gonna bring the saturation down a little bit. Look how close these shots look, and I probably spent 5 minutes on this. X-T4, A7 III. And here is the shot of the A7 III before CINEMATCH. So much different, it's crazy. Now we have our third shot, which is the GH5S. And we're gonna try to match this to the X-T4 as well. Much more similar than before CINEMATCH. If we wanna get the skin tones looking very similar on both cameras, our source is the GH5S. That's the camera was shot on. The target, we want it to look like the X-T4. So let's see if that changed anything. Well, it made it very bright, but the saturation here that is isolated by those two targets can be pulled down. And look at that. Holy cow, that's actually really similar. That source target tool is really nice. One thing to keep in mind, if you want to use the source target thing, it's a lot better to shoot in 10-bit. It gives you way more color information. The A7 III started to fall apart a little bit. Right here in his face, you can tell that it was shot in 8-bit because there's just some weird color blocking and stuff, but matching the GH5S and the X-T4, whew, that's pretty close. I barely spent any time on that. Okay, we're moving on to a different test. This is a wide shot in a backyard. Very cool. Now what I've done is I've added the native company's conversion LUT to each of these cameras' log profiles so you can see what the company seems best as a conversion. So this is the Fuji X-T4 with the F-Log conversion LUT. Then we have the Sony A7 III, boom, S-Log 2. And then this is our GH5S, bam, converted. I'm just gonna play these in sequence. It goes X-T4, Sony, GH5S, and you can see the difference with just the native conversion LUT. No other adjustments other than exposure. So what we're gonna do is take that exact same shot, grade the X-T4 shot, and then CineMatch the Sony and the GH5 to the X-T4 and see how much different it is, how closely they compare. If the conversion LUT is better or if CineMatch is better. It's gonna be a fight to the death. So here's F-Log, the shot without any color grading, and then bam, film convert, bam, exposure change. So the goal is to get the Sony and the Panasonic to look just like this, and then compare that to the raw footage with their native conversion LUTs from the companies. I didn't even touch any of the skin tone stuff on this shot. Here's the Fuji X-T4, here's the Sony. Dude, that is so close. Look at the greens and the tones in the background. Look how similar all three of these look in the background. They look the same to me. The other shot with just the native conversion LUTs, they look completely different. This is shot within like 10 minutes of that other shot, the close-up. One final test, I'm gonna take these wide shots with the crappy conversion LUTs on them, duplicate these shots and put the CineMatch settings that we just did on these shots, and then we'll compare those wide shots. Lots of shots here, folks. Okay, so here's the first set of shots with the company's native conversion LUTs. So we have Fuji, Sony, Panasonic, and now here is my grade of the X-T4 with the Sony and GH5S CineMatched to the X-T4. So we have the Fuji, the Sony, and the Panasonic GH5S. See ya! That's all I needed. In my opinion, CineMatch is a no-brainer tool to keep in your toolkit. I've been in plenty of real-world situations where CineMatch would have come in clutch. For instance, me and some buddies shot this music video in New York last year. The A cam on the shoot was the Red Dragon, and the B cam was the Blackmagic Ursa 4.6K G2. I spent a lot of time trying to get the Ursa to look like the Red. On this job, CineMatch could have helped me create more consistency, and ultimately, I think that's one of our biggest goals as filmmakers. We set out to build immersion for the viewer, eliminate distractions, and give the audience freedom to actually enjoy the story they're viewing. Something as simple as 2 shots in the same scene looking different color-wise can pull you out of that. Let's say you really like shooting Blackmagic, but financially it's not feasible for you to go out and buy 2 of the exact same cinema camera. You could get something more affordable like this Fuji X-T4 as your B cam, and then also get CineMatch so that when you're setting up these multi-camera interviews or whatever you're doing, you just use CineMatch to get a consistent look to that Blackmagic color science. That way you don't have to invest in all of that extra camera gear. If this sounds like an interesting tool for you to use in your work, go to cinematch.com to check it out. You can download a free trial so you don't have to commit to buying it right away. It's available for Mac and Windows for Premiere Pro at the moment, and DaVinci Resolve support is coming very soon. So keep your eyes peeled on that if you're using DaVinci and you're a master colorist. Unlike myself, I'm doing my best. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you FilmConvert for sponsoring this video. It genuinely means so much to me. Subscribe to Kinotika, check out my personal channel for my home movies. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.